Hi, okay, so I'm Robin from Holistica Magazine, and we've got Dr. Adam Suzman here, and we're going to be talking about this golden box, which is this amazing system of medicine, and it's full of different little bottles with magic inside, or I believe it's magic. So, Adam, you were acting as a homeopath for many years and seeing lots of patients, and then, as far as I know, you were quite frustrated at what it takes to actually get somebody into a complete healing journey. And so you invented or you created something that's going to help them do that. Tell us more about that.
This really came out of that frustration and the realization that there were just too many people to treat, and we needed more broad substances to treat people, which dealt with the issues of emotional trauma, old memory, family situations, habitual patterning, aging. These grand themes were not really being addressed individually. So I developed a system of medicine, the Golden Box, with its 12 remedies to cover these situations. And in many ways, each one came out of the one that came before. So I began and I saw a gap which needed to be filled, and I created a remedy around that to deal with that, and then that revealed further gaps. So then I finished off the set, and it's here, the Golden Box with 12 remedies. So that's really the origin.
So it's kind of like a journey that you went on, and then it sort of completed and in the Golden Box with all the different types of remedies. Were you answering and addressing concerns as they came up? I mean, I know that Liberation was the first one that you did, and obviously you've got a lot of feedback from people as to how it was working with them. And then did you create ones to fill the gaps? Or
well, Liberation was really designed to deal with memory and the weight of memory, the unfinished business of the past. So when you think back on your life and you think about all the people you've not had closure with, all the family members you still have issues with, all the old relationships things were unsaid and needed to be said or unfinished, and you wondered what would have happened. So that's really what Liberation works on. It's that whole weight of unfinished business of the past. And what it does is it brings a lot of these situations to the present. It brings them to our consciousness, or sometimes through our subconscious in dreams. We have dreams where we'll have closure with a person. We'll dream about someone and we'll have a full interaction with that person, and then we'll make peace with them, or we'll say goodbye to them. Or the one woman was always seeing her mother in the clouds, and she couldn't get to the mother. She'd never said goodbye to her. So after taking Liberation, the mother came through the clouds, and she was able to hug her, to embrace her just one more time. And that was the closure she needed. So this is how it works. It really allows us to finish the unfinished business of the past that's still bothering us and we're still sort of tripping over. And once we do that, we obviously let go of a lot of baggage that's holding us back from being us. So yeah, that was the journey of Liberation. It was quite an extensive journey, and I really, in a way, I developed these for myself because I saw I needed something to deal with these states which weren't being dealt with homeopathically. So I developed these remedies to deal with just this.
So I know I've spoken to quite a few people who've taken Liberation, and some of them were absolutely, completely, almost confused and bowled over about the events that happened. Some people spoke about having the most radical dreams and dreaming of deep issues that they had, that they didn't realize that a remedy could be so personal and come to them in such an incredible way. And other people, there were lots of varied effects. Some people said that they needed to sleep more. Some people, So do these remedies kind of work alongside people's issues and work very personally with them?
Well, in a sense, all of these remedies, but Liberation in particular, is probably the most personal thing you'll ever do, because it's all about you. It's not about anyone else's story. It's about your story. So it's really just bringing to light whatever needs to be brought to life so that we can have closure with it. And often these things are buried in our psyche. We're not even aware that they're there. They're so deeply buried, or they're covered over with layers of compensation. And what this does, it brings it gently to the surface so we can see it, we can feel it, the pain that needs to be felt or go through it. Tears were shed in the process of taking this with people, but the ongoing feeling going forward was that people felt lighter, they felt more in themselves, they felt less burdened from the past. I mean, this really fills the gap where, in a sense, psychotherapy should be digging into, but often it doesn't have the tools to kind of get there. But this, due to the nature of the substances in the remedies, is able to dig into the structure of the mind and the emotions and the past.
So now, okay, I know everybody must be wondering what on earth is actually in these bottles. Like, what is it that's going to make this happen? I know that each and every one of them have got incredibly amazing, wild and wonderful ingredients. But can we just take one bottle and go through some of the ingredients that you put together to make these amazing things happen?
Okay, well, I mean, I'll cover a few because they all have very interesting stories. The first one, Liberation, was obviously based on the 9 gems. Now, the 9 gems is an ancient alchemical formula created in the 3rd century by a Buddhist alchemist called Nagarjuna, and he burnt these 9 gems 100 times each, and then he put them together with rose water and gold, and then we consume this. And the purpose of this is, as a karmic medicine, it's designed to finish the events of the past. So it's actually particularly designed to allow us to get closure with what's bothered us in the past. Now, in conjunction with this, there's the ash of 5 fires, and these fires have been burning for the last 50 years. And the purpose of this is, in the middle of these fires is someone who's been continuously chanting, and it's a mantra of purification to allow people to clear the emotions. So it works deeply on that. And I've added the ash of that, and then there's shungite, which is very good at clearing the memory of water, and obviously because it's cleaning the water, it's cleaning our blood as it goes through. So as we're lifting it up, we're clearing it out. So that's the basis of liberation. There's another one, redemption, which is based on the mother of all plants. Now, the legend goes that this was a tree goddess, an immortal tree goddess who actually was tasked with creating all plant life on Earth. And so when we take this, we're introducing this incredibly ancient frequency into our body, or this intelligence, which goes in and starts to clear a lot of the structural components that might be bothering us. Then, of course, there's the entire immortality range, which is based on the immortal jellyfish. Now, this is interesting because, I mean, with all the clearing and whatnot, I realized that one of the causes of disease, and possibly the main cause of disease, is aging. As people age, obviously systems break down, things stop working as well. We stop being as functional as we were. And this is kind of taken for granted as like, oh, we're going to get old and die. But I was able to capture the message from this jellyfish, this immortal jellyfish, which is a message of regeneration. So the jellyfish in the wild will, if it gets injured or if it gets old, it'll send a message. It's a biochemical message it sends to the cells to regenerate. So obviously we couldn't wait for the jellyfish to get old, because who knows how old it gets. But when you pierce the little nodules on the jellyfish, it excretes this message, which I was able to capture and amplify. I've built some technology which allows me to amplify frequencies to develop a much stronger message to be delivered to the body. And so when we consume this immortal jellyfish, it actually takes us back on a journey through the past. It goes back through our memory.
So there's no actual jellyfish in the formula?
There's no jellyfish in the formula. I put the jellyfish back in the sea after I milked it, if you like, and it regenerated, went back to youth. So it's happily swimming around for another 10 million years. So, that's the beauty of this, is that we're able to capture these frequencies, and we don't need massive amounts of them, because we're able to distill it and amplify it, and then it gets given to people. Now,
so the basis of the way that you make these medicines was kind of informed by homeopathic principles.
Yeah, I know that when I looked at homeopathy, it was there's thousands, there's 5, 6, 10,000 remedies, and so I've tried to, obviously I couldn't deal with all of them, but what I've tried to do here is I've taken the basic principles of homeopathy, which is this frequency, and I've found a way to amplify this frequency so that it delivers a much stronger message. Because a lot of people were complaining about, like, oh, well, they took a remedy, they weren't sure if they felt it or not. So I took it as a personal challenge to see if I could make remedies which were strong enough to be felt by anyone. Now, when people take, say, for example, a vitamin C supplement, you kind of have to take it on faith that it's even working. But a lot of people, often within minutes, are able to feel the effects of these in their body. It's like, wow, this is quite strong. And that's really what we want. We want to know that it's working and it's doing something for us and is able to work with us on whatever we need to work on.
So you can take it and somebody will feel it straight away.
Sometimes I mean, personally, I feel it within the first 10 seconds. I mean, I'm quite sensitive to it, but the sensitives do. They can often just hold it in their hand and they can feel the effect of it. But even the most the hardened folk, who are like the most insensitive, are often able to feel it quite quickly. If not within minutes, then certainly within hours or a day or two. You know, within a day or two, people notice, say, with the liberation, a change in their dreams. There's a strong dream component in liberation and panacea, and in the jellyfish, because it's going back through memory, and as memories come out, the mind makes peace with them. It goes through different conscious and subconscious grapplings in order to bring us to a state of, you know, peace. And that's what this journey is about.
So we've got so many remedies here, and there's even sorry, I should be shown more clearly, but okay, I see here we've got even a balm that one can use externally on your body, and that's also made with the same principles. So
it's with the jellyfish as well. I mean, the idea is that when we send this message of regeneration to any portion, I mean, I've got eye drops as well, which we put in the eyes, but when you put in the balm, it's sending a message to that area to regenerate the cells at a much faster rate than would normally happen.
And then we've got I know you've got some of them are supportive to the process, like you mentioned, the blue lotus.
Yes.
And the tranquility.
Yeah, well,
to that.
Blue Lotus is designed to support the whole process of liberation and redemption. Blue Lotus is there just to calm everything down, so that when we hit times where we might get a bit anxious or a bit disturbed, the Blue Lotus is there to calm the waters.
And here's the tranquility.
And then the tranquility is a stronger version. It also contains Blue Lotus, but it contains other bits and pieces in order to deal with what comes up with immortality, because often people find the energy is radically transformed. They have people who were walkers suddenly become runners, runners become trail runners, you know, like people start doing far more exercise than they would normally do, just because they feel like they have the energy, they feel young and they feel agile. What also happens is appetite increases as we rebuild the cells, because the message to the body is that we must regenerate the body, and in doing so we need to, if you like, change the water and change the cells. So people eat more, they won't put on weight, but you know, it's rebuilding old structures that might be dysfunctional. So there's all sorts of interesting effects that occur when we take the immortality.
So does it, I mean, if I bought this box, would it take me some time, I suppose, to get to know all the different remedies and when to take them? And I suppose it's like a beautiful journey that you go on with yourself.
You know, if we see this as a companion, you know, on our journey of life, so we could see it as a boat we might need to cross a river, or a rope we might need to get us up a mountain, or a stick that might help us get down a hill. You know, it'll be whatever you need it to be at that time. And that's why there's this huge variety of substances in here, so that we can actually have something for every situation. A time when we need to cut through, there's some of the more wrathful ones like Immortality Kali, which cuts through and gets through the heaviness we might feel. And then there's something like Immortality Lakshmi, which has got all the beautiful things, you know. It's got lots of the really friendly frequencies in it. It's all about abundance and lushness and, you know, just attracting wealth, which is obviously useful. So
would I say, for instance, if I was in a period of my life where I felt I needed more abundance and I needed to connect more with that, I could go on, say, 3 weeks or so of doing Lakshmi, and that would...
Yeah, each bottle will last you approximately between 3 weeks and a month. The idea behind the box is that we have it's all about choice. At any day, at any time, we wake up and we decide what what state is right for us, what we need on that day. We might have a more focused day. We might require more calm. We might have a more high intensity day where we need a lot of support, and then things like creation will be quite useful because that's quite, it helps us become more friendly in a sense. Or we might just want to relax, and we might want to take tranquility for that day, or go to the beach, or do whatever. We might want to take Lakshmi or tranquility and just go to the beach. So we might need different things at different times. Something that's come up recently with the Kali, the immortality Kali, is that people who are in a state of stasis, in a state of lethargy and not wanting to do much, they took the Kali, and all of a sudden they started doing things. They really got very active, not like a stimulant like coffee, but just in like, okay, they felt like doing things. Even boring things suddenly became exciting. They wanted to like jump in and really get engaged with life and creative processes.
Yeah. I took this creation for some time, and it just was the most incredible thing. It made me feel like my posture, like taller. I felt taller and just so on top of the world, like I was able to do everything and anything. So that, yeah, definitely the creation was
The creation is
good
all
one.
very popular. It's, I designed creation around what would one's best day ever look like. So it's got things like royal jelly, the light of Jupiter, the Dyes orchid, the protein nectar. It's got all these really beautiful substances. My brief to myself was like, okay, so if I wake up and I'm not in a good mood, how to get myself in a good mood where I'm open, expanded, friendly, creative, playful, interactive. And that's what creation is in a nutshell. So creation really goes really nicely with all of them. I designed it around the immortality with tranquility, because when part of the jellyfish's action is that it'll sometimes drop you down. I mean, the jellyfish gets injured and drops to the bottom of the ocean, where it sprouts anew. Think of flower, it kind of goes down and then sprouts anew. And in that space, when it drops down to the ocean, it gets quite flat. It doesn't really want to do much. But sometimes we don't have that option. We have to go out and interact in the world. So that's what creation's there for, to really get us moving when we don't necessarily feel like moving, or get us interactive when we might be more insular. Now, of course, there's a time and place for everything, and I'm not moving outside of the normal play of human emotions. But sometimes if we tend to get caught in a cycle and we dwell in it, if we can break that cycle and move out of it, then there's no longer a need to play it out. And like really, once we've been through something for a while, we get the message, but often we get stuck in it. And this is to break these cycles so we can return to life.
So now, Adam, what I wanted to ask you is that people were taking your immortality medicines, and there was so much healing going on, like almost spontaneous healing. People were saying cancer spots were going, and arthritic knees were being healed, and families were being reunited, like just almost miraculous things going on. And then some people were desperate to heal their eyesight and put them in their eyes. So I believe even somebody did put one of the immortalities in their eyes and hurt their eyes in the process, because it wasn't meant for that. So then you created the immortal eyes.
Yes.
So
there's two versions. The one is the straight immortal eyes, and the other is the immortal eyes 2020.
So those you put directly in your eyes.
It's in distilled water, you put them directly in your eyes, and it's designed to strengthen the eye, obviously, by youthening it. So it'll obviously improve blood flow, general circulation, the integrity of the eye. It's not necessarily going to deal with stuff like astigmatisms, or, well, we're doing studies on glaucoma and various other retinal issues, but it will improve the functionality of the eye, because the cells will be healthier. What we see with the whole immortality range is that circulation generally improves in people. Their blood flow improves. They feel warmer in winter because the blood's flowing better. And as we know in medicine, the better the blood flow, the more the waste products are taken away, the less stagnation there is. Now, in Chinese medicine, they say that blood carries mind. So obviously, the more the blood is flowing, the more fluidly it's flowing and quickly it's flowing, the more the mind's able to move through stuff. So it has all sorts of benefits. And as you said, with arthritis, it's been amazing. People with dodgy knees have suddenly been able to take up walking again because it literally rebuilds joints. And obviously, if it's doing it there, it's doing it with the liver and the kidneys. You know, I've noticed with myself, you know, whenever if I consume alcohol, it's like my tolerance just goes way up because obviously the body's much stronger. So I almost have the constitution of a 20-year-old, you know, internally. I mean, I'm still losing hair because hair gets lost, but, you know, physically, I'm feeling far stronger than I was 5 years ago. And that's literally from taking immortality. I have more energy, I have more life force, my memory's better, my concentration's better, everything is improved.
Yeah, and I spoke to somebody who's about 80, and he just buys a bottle every single month and takes the immortality. He says, I don't know why it works, but everybody says I look young, and I'm going to just carry on doing it. So it's quite amazing. Okay, so I mean,
just something before. It also works on animals. I give it to my cat every now and then because he's 9. I want to keep him young forever. And everybody comes around and comments on how young my cat's looking. But the remedies also, for example, there was a woman in Romania who had a rescue dog from Czechoslovakia or somewhere, and the dog was quite traumatized and quite neurotic and was peeing everywhere. And she gave liberation to the dog in his water. And then 2 or 3 days later, the dog changed completely. He was friendly, he was outgoing, he was playing with other dogs, he wasn't peeing inside. So all the trauma that had happened to him, he was able to leave behind and move forward, because obviously pets have less trauma and moves through more quickly.
so why do you think these medicines are just so effective? Is it because they're working on the psyche and the body and
Well, you know,
all parts of the...
Yeah, I've made
Because
these.
I mean, some of the results that you've got from this are just literally crazy. I mean, people are almost dumbfounded. You know, they've had ailments that they've walked around with for years and years, and then they suddenly gone. I mean, it's
No,
it is. But it's kind of personal. It works differently with everybody.
It does work differently with everyone, because I mean, some people who've had grey hair, the hair's gone back to black again. You know, it's like I've noticed this with myself. I was graying more, now the hair's going darker again. You know, there was even one woman who was in her mid-60s and she started menstruating again. I don't know if it continued, but I mean, she had a couple of small periods. So it's like, wow, if it can regenerate to that level, this doesn't generally happen. But I mean, this is the potential if the body regenerates to keep going. And obviously, the younger our biochemistry is, the younger we feel. You know, if your cells are 20-year-old cells, then you'll have a much healthier structure. And most of the diseases, however you slice it across the board, are related to aging. You know, people get to 50 and then disease starts to creep in because our life force, in Chinese medicine, they talk about it as kidney qi, starts to deplete over time, and we start to age, and that starts to dip. And what this does is it increases, and we see this in the skin gets healthier, you know, the libido increases, the hair grows more. You know, all of these are signs of increased kidney qi, life force, which is not normally thought to be renewable, except with sort of extensive Taoist practices. But this is a way to sort of cheat and just go back to an earlier version of yourself on a cellular level, and then to sort of express through that.
Yeah. I like the way you speak about the memories in the body being released, and certainly when I took quite a lot of the liberation, I felt that you know, I felt that, or sorry, more of the immortality. I felt that I got an understanding of why we age is we carry all our memories go into our body and make us, they literally make us heavy and make us old. So I felt a lot of memories lifting out of my body through dreams and through memories and through bumping into people and resolving things and things that I had even forgotten about. I didn't even know were still issues. Sort of just lightened the load. It was quite extraordinary watching that. So,
you know, this is a fundamental part of this process. People think, oh, we'll just take it and that's it. I'll just get 20-year-old biochemistry again. But in order to do that, we actually have to go back through a lot of the memories. So when I was taking immortality, I was going back through memories when I was in my 40s, my 30s, my 20s, my teens, and then even when I was a kid, you know. So it was like all these memories are held in the body somewhere. And as we expel these memories from the body, we almost clear the slate, and then we have a nice clean slate to develop, to imprint new stuff upon. But it's like having a meal when there's a half roasted old chicken on there. You can't even make the meal because there's so much stuff. But if you clear the plate, and that's what this does, it clears the plate, we can imprint new memories onto it. So it is a journey back through the self. And if we combine immortality with liberation, we get a very potent effect. And then there's panacea, which is designed to deal with the patternings that come out of the memory. So it's a very comprehensive system, this golden box, and it's designed for anyone who wants to get younger, who doesn't want to be beset by the past, who's a seeker or is interested in the nature of their own mind, or anyone who just doesn't want to have to put up with a bad mood. I realize that everyone says, oh, you're in a bad mood for a reason. It's like, well, maybe you are, and maybe there's some resolution. But once we get the resolution, so often we get stuck in that and we just stay in that bad mood. And then a day goes by or two and we've just wasted that time. But what if we could just snap out of it and then get the message and then move on? Then all that time we'd spend dwelling, and all that stuff often gets written into the body and we have to deal with it later. So this is it's a massive clearing. People talk a lot about detox, but there's not much talk about like mental emotional detox, which is what this is. And this is because a lot of there isn't the technology to deal with the memory that's actually causing the weight and therefore causing disease. But this is the technology, and these are the tools that allow us to go into that and start to dig. So it's really a journey. It's your journey. It's a fascinating journey. It's a journey back through the self to reclaim who you really are. And I mean, personally, I can't imagine why anyone would not want to do this, because as you go back through this journey, you get lighter, you get healthier, you keep the wisdom, but you lose the weight and the pain of aging, which is often what ages us. So it's a fascinating journey to go on. And this is why something like liberation, which I started maybe 4 or 5 years ago, is still very popular today because people still use it to resolve stuff. But now obviously we've got the immortality in conjunction with it, and the panacea and the creation, different versions of immortality. So we can really mix and match a lot and decide what we need to do, and also take it at whatever speed we want to take it at. We don't have to rush through this because it's our own journey, and we can take it slow if we like, or very quickly. But if it gets too fast and too unpleasant, then we can always scale it back and take less, and then just move more gradually. Or if we've got too much heavy stuff going on, we can take less, or we might need to take more, because then it helps us deal with what's coming up.
Okay, so just to kind of sum up the whole box, which is quite difficult because there's so much in there. So as far as I see it, we've got 2 supportive remedies, which are the tranquility and the blue lotus.
Yes.
So those will help the progress, the process. So say, for instance, I've taken a lot of immortality and I'm having dreams and I'm going through a bit of angst because stuff's leaving my body or trauma is being released. Then I would take blue lotus to soothe me, and maybe tranquility to help me sleep if I needed that, or just to level me, right?
Totally.
Okay, so those are the 2 supportive ones. And then liberation obviously is the beginning point. It's where you started, and does a lot of clearing. And
yes, now we can take this in conjunction with any of them, and we can start off on liberation, just take liberation for a couple of weeks, then dive into the other things, or we can take them in conjunction with them. I mean, we might be taking the immortalities, and we might find the thorny karmic thing that keeps coming up, then we might jump into a bit of liberation or to clear that.
Okay, so now you started off with the first immortality, which was quite interesting, and then so here we can go. That's the first one, and then you felt that the body gets used to a certain frequency. So what you wanted to do is to carry on the regenerative function. So you created another immortality, but then you added some extra.
Yes. So
and you've done how many different?
Okay. So what happens with that is, I found that after about 5 bottles of immortality, the body adapts to the frequency. So in the same way that when we go into a room, if we're always smelling the same smell, like a perfume or a incense or something, the body almost edits it out. It adapts to it. We get used to it. Or if we drive the same path on our way to work, whatever, every day, we stop seeing it, right? But if we change something in the equation, and in this case, what I've done with the changing is I've amplified the frequency so that we're receiving a different frequency. It continues to work. But I've done more than that. So in immortality Vajra, there's like 3 levels of immortality. And then there's the Ganesh mantra, which is about removing obstacles. And then there's the Dhammatari mantra, which is, he's the Hindu god of medicine. So it's designed to clear disease states as well.
So I see I've got 6 immortalities here.
Yeah.
So there's, out of this box of 12 remedies plus the balm, we've got 6 immortalities. So you can go on a whole progression,
you can go on a
take
journey.
one and then take the other one. And
you see, as we get through the immortalities, that's 3, that's the Vajra, and then there's number 5 levels is the Garuda. Now the Garuda also contains the golden spiral. Now the golden spiral is not here, but it's one of the remedies which is designed to bring us back into balance. I found a way to take the golden spiral as an expression of the pure function, the pi ratio, and amplify that so we can take it. And what a lot of people found is that posture improved, or the bits of themselves that were sort of separated came back into form. I mean, it's the same ratio that's expressed in everything from galaxies to the baby in the womb. I mean, it's the same thing in the lobes of the ear and the joints of the finger. It's this ratio. So it brings us back into alignment with this perfect ratio upon which pretty much everything is built. So that's the Garuda, which also, there's another mantra in there. The Garuda is about rising up above the situation. So it's almost like the Garuda is the lightning bird. So it allows us to get perspective on things, looking down. The Garuda is also been very useful in cancer. So, I mean, all the immortalities have been useful in various cancers, because it obviously, cancer is a disease that kicks in as we age. And obviously, one of the functions of this kidney chi, this life force, is that it keeps cancer cells in line. And as we get older, it starts to dip. So if we're increasing that, it's just more, if you think of it like the sheepdog, it's able to keep the sheep in the pen, right? As the sheepdog gets old, which is what happens when we age, the sheepdog's sleeping and the sheep get out of the pen and eat other stuff. So what this is like giving us a nice young sheepdog to keep all the sheep in the pen, to keep everything in line.
so, okay, I mean, how would I would get hold of this box, and there's online kind of resources where one can read about it, and you've got a Facebook group called the Golden Box.
There's a Facebook group called the Golden Box. It's a new group I've started. There's also the New Immortals, where I discuss a lot of the remedies and what they do. But the Golden Box is specifically going to be around dealing with the permutations of this and how to use it most effectively to get the most out of it, because obviously everyone has their own journey. And
so can we post questions on the
we can
Facebook
definitely post
you'll answer them?
Totally, definitely. I mean, this is all about a learning experience. This is quite new. I just had these made maybe a month ago. So, but it represents an umbrella to unite all of these, so we can see them as a system of medicine.
I love the way you call it beyond
medicine. Well, I mean, the idea is like from treating disease to like actually looking at the structure of things, which is causing a lot of disease in the first place, to liberate us from disease ultimately, and also bring us into understanding of what's happening. You know, an image I'd like to share with everyone which is quite pertinent. When I was taking the liberation in the beginning, when I started taking it, when I made it, I was kind of lots of patience and lots of childcare. My daughter was very young. And work and commitments and bills, and I was really struggling with everything. And the more liberation I took, it just felt like I was throwing bags of concrete over the side as I dealt with all these old memories. And then it's like the ship started rising up in the water, and I could see where I was going. And then I was like, okay, well, let me decide where I want to go. And I decided, and it's like I went back to all the harbors I'd ever been to, and I threw all the skeletons overboard from there, and I examined everything and took the gems from those situations. And it felt like it was a real journey of discovery of myself, of reclamation, coming back to what was actually the purpose of this whole human experience in the first place. So
okay, so it's very illuminating.
It's very illuminating. It's a beautiful trip. It's a fantastic trip just to take yourself on, because it's all about you and your journey and making the most of your journey here in this time. And it's very personal, because we can run this journey at whatever speed we like. you know, was.
Well, I think especially now where a lot of people are not sure which direction to go in and how the world is moving and what's going on and needing a bit of an anchor and some healing. I think this is such a tiniest, beautiful gift to humanity, to enable people to go on such a beautiful journey with their psyche. And
Well, you know, regardless of where this is going, and we can discuss this at length another time, but regardless of where we're going, we want to be on our A game. We really want to be, we want to have gotten rid of the backpack full of bricks, and we want to be fit and strong and supple and able to move in whatever direction we need to move quickly, because that's going to serve us, whatever happens. And once we've made peace with, you know, I just want to tell one more story before we end this. You know, I had you know, they talk a lot about reincarnation, and we reincarnate because we haven't finished business with people, and we wanted to know what would have happened if we'd married this person or that person. And then we die and we reincarnate, and we meet them again, and we play this out. Now, whether you believe that or not, I mean, it doesn't particularly matter, but you know, I had one relationship which ended quite badly and was quite shattered, and I thought it was done, and she left, and I never saw her again. And in the dream, I had the dream after taking liberation. There she was 9 months pregnant. We were happy, and then I woke up. It's like, okay, that's what would have happened had it continued, but it didn't. So there was no sense of loss. It was just a sense of the body knew what would have happened, and then I felt something leave the body. It's like I could leave that, so I didn't need to go back and say what would have happened if this had happened. You know. So it's actually amazing.
Completing a cycle,
just moving beyond it. Yeah, that I wasn't even aware was there. I'd done so much personal work. You know, I'd worked with so many remedies, and like there was this big chunk of emotional unfinished business, like this arrow that broke off in me, and I wasn't even aware of it. And what this did, it kind of completed the arrow, it allowed it to be pulled out. You know, when we think of karma, we think of what happened, but it's also what didn't happen. You know, the flip side of the coin is like what didn't happen and what could have or might have happened. And that's the frozen stuff. And that's the stuff which often trips us up when we manifest a different situation or a similar situation and play it out. But what if we could just play it out in our dreams or in daily life, make peace with it, and let go of it and move on? And then we're a lighter, happier person. And this is what we all want to be, ultimately. So this is what this is about, making lighter, happier people who get to do what they want.
Yeah, and I suppose in learning what each of these remedies do, it's a wonderful education, and it's such a healing place to be. Yeah.
Well, you know, I mean, ultimately, everyone is interested in their own psyche, because if they're not, they're going to be at the mercy of it. And we have a certain amount of tools, but these are very practical tools that allow us to access the subconscious directly. You know, I think it was Jung who said that if we have resolution in a dream, it's the same as resolving it in daily life. You know, it feels the same. The body is able to let go of the memory because it's done. So this is what this does. Everyone comments on the dream effects of this. You know, they dream heavily.
Such a nice way to resolve things. So I'm going to put all the links in the comments on the bottom. So if people want to have a look, they can find out more about each specific remedy. And I mean, I suppose one can just order, if you wanted to start off with liberation, you could just order liberation.
You can order them individually. I mean, the golden box is just a big umbrella so people can see it as a system that we move through. I mean, the last 3 or 4, the Immortality Kali, Immortality Lakshmi, and Immortality Shiva, is really just about bringing these grand archetypes of masculine and feminine, of cutting through or abundance, so that we can consume them and we can actually embody them without having to necessarily chant the mantras ourselves.
Yeah, no, I think it's genius to put mantras in.
Yeah, it's been quite a game changer, and it allows us to connect with like all these ancient traditions and these archetypes. I mean, some of these mantras, these Hindu mantras, have been chanted billions of times, and we're connecting to that by consuming it, and we're actually bringing it into ourselves as an archetype of masculine or feminine, of abundance or of cutting through. So it's nice to be able to play with these things directly, regardless of whether one is a Hindu or not. It's like these represent archetypal masculine and feminine forces which are at play in our psyche, in our in a body, whether are men or women, it doesn't matter. To integrate these things means we're more complete, we're more integrated, and then we will do better things with our lives.
Learning about the different aspects of ourselves.
As well, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, lovely to chat.